It's because I didn't switch my microphone on. I'm not responsible for that. Somebody needs to turn my microphone on before I do. Hello everyone, and welcome to Live from the Studio, brought to you by Audible, our amazing new sponsors. Without them, this just couldn't happen. We are on day 3 of the Sundance Film Festival London 2023. Yay! I think I'm going to have to lose my Kermit the Frog style of introductions. We are live streaming to Picturehouse on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. And on Live from the Studio, we are interviewing a cross-section of everyone involved in Sundance, from the filmmakers to the people behind the scenes you don't normally get to meet. This show is for anyone who is interested in independent film, the future of film, and celebrating film. We are here for you and have some amazing guests for you. So on tomorrow's last show, I can't believe we're going to be on day 4 tomorrow, we have our closing film, You Hurt My Feelings director, Nicole Holofcener, with producer and keynote speaker, Anthony Bregman. The winner of this year's Sundance Dramatic Special Jury Award for Acting for their lead role in Mutt, Leo Mail. We go varsity in mariachi with directors Sam Osborne and Alejandra Vasquez. And director Ira Sachs discusses his new film Passages. And we round up the festival with chat from Sundance Programming Department Manager Anna Souza, Picturehouse MD Clare Binns, and the wonderful Sundance producer Wendy Mitchell. So, to today's programme, we are kicking off shortly with the winners of the Sundance Creative Vision Award, fantastic machine directors Maximilien van Aertyck and Axel Danielson. Then Wendy interviews the brilliant winner of yesterday's film pitch session, Matthew White. And we have Celine Song, director of the exceptional Past Lives, and directors Danny and Michael Philippou take the show out discussing their insane horror debut feature, Talk to Me. So, to our first guests, I am delighted to introduce Maximilien van Aertyck and Axel Danielson, the directors of the, I was speechless, fantastic machine. But guys, how has your festival been so far? Because you've been here all weekend, haven't you? Or since Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, it's really great. I mean, the combination of Sundance with all that is, Picturehouse with this amazing place, and then London with the 28 degrees and the sunshine. It's
sort of sunshine.
Almost sometimes, but it's just really, really great.
I really think this place, Picturehouse Central, is such an amazing place. I mean, me and Axel are talking a lot about how important the cinema room is, because it's that room where we can watch moving images together, and then we can go to the cafe and discuss them together. And this kind of building on multiple floors in the center of the city, that's just amazing.
It's quite an oasis, isn't it, to find a cathedral to cinema like this, you know. And Andrew Durham's requested that we build one in LA, so we're working on it. So, oh, hang on, let me go to your questions, if that's okay. So tonight you have your UK premiere, which is the fully deserved culmination of a 7-year labour of love. And you won the Special Jury Award for Creative Vision. So, Axel, can you tell me what this means for you both, for the film, for what you're trying to do with the film, with the message of the film?
I mean, the film is about the relationship between us humans and the camera, and the impact that the camera has had on us personally, and also on society. During those 200 years, it existed as a present tool in our world, and now in our pockets. And for us, it's really what we want to do is to like trigger some kind of critical thinking when it comes to the images that surround us, and how those are affected, how we are affected by them, and also to think about where to kind of like follow the money to see those images that surround us the most, of the popular culture. Where do they, why do they look the way they are, and what are the intentions behind these images? Because if we want to cope with the future and also cope with now the AI accelerating into our time, we need to get some tools of how to understand and work with this fantastic machine which the camera is.
Maximilien, perhaps you can tell us a bit about your Sundance journey, because you won this amazing prize in Sundance, you premiered in Sundance, Utah, you're over here premiering as part of, you know, you've globally stretched over here. How does that feel for you? That's such an achievement, because this is your sort of debut documentary, isn't it? Together, working together, is that right?
Joint, yes,
yeah.
Sundance has meant so much for us. Even during the production of the film, Sundance was where we aimed for. And when you aim for so high, it really forces you in your work to set the bar high in everything you do. And then once we were at Sundance, it was just amazing, because it was the first meeting with finally the larger audience. And to start at such a high point is just so amazing for filmmakers, because you know that many people will be watching there, and you know that you will gonna have a great journey ahead, and our ambitions to make this an international film will be made easier by that, of course. And then we were so happy about this award, because in a way it's about a serious topic, but we, in all our films, we want to use humor as much as possible, and the result is a roller coaster ride where you get thrown across all corners of the globe, where you are allowed to laugh, but at certain carefully chosen points of the film, you have to swallow your laugh.
Yeah.
And then you can laugh again. And this is where reflection, we think, can happen in the most effective way. And I think the prize recognized that.
Yeah, I think you really introduce the idea of personal accountability really gently, in a way, you know, because it does dawn on you, doesn't it, when you're scrolling through Twitter going, ha 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 ha, oh, someone died, ha 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 ha, you know, and not really engaging with what's going in your brain. Whereas when you watch it in a feature and the way that you've presented it and chaptered it and paced it, at the end of it, you do feel a kind of dawning responsibility that we all have to take. You know, was that your intention, basically?
Definitely. I mean, we want to post a series of questions around this. We don't have the answers ourselves, but we want to ask some questions around this. And I think that none of us we don't have a vaccine towards this. This is something that goes, how we're affected by photographic images. It bypasses the rational thinking many times. It goes straight into the emotions of us and the dopamine center of us. And so it's not really like, we cannot say like, oh, come on, let's just quit it. Everyone who has children knows that you cannot do it. You have to like regulate, or you have to offer something else, or you have to put in these critical thinking very early. So this is what we want to do. We want to do this, but as Maximilien said, we always want to use humor when we talk about serious things. That you must be able to laugh about these very, very, very serious matters. And also one thing I think is that we always aimed for Sundance. We aimed also for the cinema screen, that the cinema room, as here at Picturehouse, is these fantastic rooms and the areas where you can discuss the content afterwards. But we choose to have a lot of material that is like produced for us to watch individually, to like scroll in the bed late at night or whatever, to take those images and put them onto cinema screen, for us to like be together and react of those images together, and also start to create a language about those images. What are those images? Because we need to do that together. We cannot do it individually.
And what has the response been? Have you found that people have come up to you afterwards and said, you know, like those images, when they are normally so small, they impact less, but on a big cinema screen, you are forced to really look at yourself. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a huge topic, but a very interesting concept, responsibility. There is one scene in the film where you kind of get a masterclass of filmmaking, because you have an interview with Leni Riefenstahl, who was commissioned by the Nazi Party to make those propaganda films for them. And that interview plays out 45 years after the end of World War II. And in an interview, you feel that she still doesn't want to accept or even recognize that the images she will produce will have consequences. And many people say, oh, this Leni Riefenstahl, that's incredible. How can she do that? And we usually answer, well, if you go through the TV channels on one certain evening, how many people do you think that are putting out these images are actually taking responsibility for the consequences that they will have? So this concept of responsibility, I think, is very, very interesting.
It is, isn't it? And because we can all recognize that particular crime and we can all judge it in whatever way we wish, it is particularly horrifying to see how delighted and enthralled she still is with her work, with zero accountability. It's an incredibly shocking piece of footage. But yet, the bit when CNN are challenged, for instance, in their accountability over promoting mass murders, they're like, wait, what? You know, yeah.
It's like Leni Riefenstahl is a true aesthetic. She is a pure aesthetic. She's not interested in the ethics of an image. So in our point of view, you cannot make a photographic image without it being political. Without it, you have to at the same time when you push the trigger or push the button to record something, there will be some ethical choices to make. There will be some ethical aspects of that. And this is something that needs to be both in the big networks and in the big, companies that control the content, but also for each one that we push the button each day. We haven't built really ethics around it yet, as we have with for example, if you go out in the traffic, there are certain rules of how to behave in traffic. If you working with text, there are certain ways of how to decode things when it comes to text that we don't know.
Yes.
When it comes to the photographic image. So there's a lot of things to do.
Yes. I mean, for instance, how did you censor yourselves? Because there is some very, very dark images, So, yeah, how did you do that yourselves? How did you take your own responsibility for what you were putting out?
We, of course, there is some very graphic footage that has to do with death. For example, there is a few shots of the Holocaust. So we were very, very careful and mindful about exactly which images to show. But then again, we always show them in context. We always, you always understand, why am I watching this right now? So it's not a compilation of best of YouTube. And another thing that goes with that is that some of the images that maybe at the beginning we were like, can we really show people that act this stupidly? But while we were working with the film and actually looking at, but why do people behave stupidly? It's not because they're stupid. It's because they are being pushed by, for example, the idea that if I do this crazy stunt on social media, I will get lots of followers. So there's this economical pressure that pushes you in doing things that might not be good for you, basically.
Yeah, and it's almost like people imagine an immortality for themselves on camera. But it is unbelievable watching that girl hanging off the... I just assumed it was CGI, and that suddenly you see her stand up against the wall and it would all cut... And it's real, how?
Yeah, it's this girl for an Instagram shoot that is hanging from a boy's hand out from a skyscraper in Dubai with several hundred meters down to the ground. And she gained a lot of followers doing this. And I heard somebody, an audience somewhere, that had a really interesting point of view on this, saying that you might be able to do this because you know that if you will die, you're immortal by the footage that are created. I don't know about this.
But then you are dead. Yeah, exactly. So,
I don't know about this.
Hooray, I guess. Yeah.
But there is something that what you could say is definitely that would never have happened without the camera.
Yes, absolutely. What would have been the point? Yeah.
So there is all these things that are triggered by there's a camera present.
Yes. Did you come to any conclusions about the pathologization that we have around cameras?
Definitely, and I think that has a lot to do with what we just talked about. For example, there is this scene where you also see this these indigenous people from Papua New Guinea that for the first time in the 60s were actually forced in a anthropological experiment to watch photos of themselves for the very first time. And there's this incredible scene where you have one man that first doesn't understand that this is a photo of himself, but once he realizes it, he immediately starts to touch his hat and his clothes because he becomes so self-aware. But we also wanted to not only talk about the individuals, but to also talk about the producers of those mass medial images and to explain the logic behind why we see the kind of content that we see on the internet. And so there is this one line that is incredible, that is very famous in France, of the CEO of France's first commercial channel, that said that my business plan, my goal is to put out content that will disconnect the brains of the audience so that when the commercial comes, they will be the most receptive to that. That goes back to this feeling of responsibility.
And like you say, follow the money.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Axel and Maximilien. Go and see Fantastic Machine. It will change your life, basically, and it will change your relationship with your phone and your cameras, and then get your children to watch it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. So we'll be back in just a second, well, a couple of moments, and we'll be back with Wendy, who will be talking to our pitch winner from yesterday, Matthew White. Stick around, it's a great story. Thank you.
Welcome back to Live from the Studio, everybody. I'm Wendy Mitchell, festival producer. I can't keep the microphone out of my hands. I'm here today with a very special guest. And actually, before we even talk to the guest, I'm going to say that we had a wacky idea this year. We thought, you know, we did our first industry program last year. We knew lots of people wanted to come back. And some people were saying, hey, could we do like speed meetings? And, you know, you talk to this agent for 5 minutes or that distributor or what, and it just doesn't quite work with those, I think. But we thought, what's something we could do that's not just meetings? And we had the idea we would try this pitch session. So we called it an interactive pitch panel. And it meant that we asked any industry badge holder, do you want to pitch, maybe? And about 60 of them said, yes, we do. And then we just picked 8 names off of this spreadsheet randomly. I closed my eyes and pointed at the spreadsheet. And so we picked 8 people. We had no idea what they were going to say. They each got 3 minutes. They couldn't show any visuals. It was just talking on a stage. We had this amazing panel of experts that came, and it's kind of like Dragon's Den without the money, is what I'm calling it. And you know, I would just remember, like, I was picking these 8 names. We have no idea who these people are, what they're going to pitch, if they're going to be, you know, some crazy person who's walked in off the street. Maybe they are. No. Or if they really were going to have great ideas. And we were so thrilled with all the 8 pitches were really great. They were all very different. It sort of filled me with hope for the future of film, if that's not a stretch. And I have here with me Matthew White, who is a screenwriter. And Matthew gave such a good pitch that he not only won the audience vote for the pitch, he won the expert jury vote. Congratulations, Matthew.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, London. Thank you.
And as I said, you did not win millions, but I think we gave you
it feels like millions.
2 Tesco bags of chocolate or something.
2 boxes of chocolate. I had to give chocolate away. I had so much chocolate. And then a big pile of DVDs in one bag and the same pile of DVDs in the other bag as well.
So now you can sell them on eBay.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Matthew, well, first of all, do you like to pitch? Is that something you enjoy doing, or it's like a necessary evil?
It's good. I enjoy parts of it. It's good for the ego. I've got a short story. 10 years ago, I was doing a corporate job in that poultry company.
In a poultry company?
Presenting in front of 60 people, had the biggest panic attack I've ever had in my life, and walked out of the room gibbering, which was the most humiliating thing I've ever done. So it's taken years to get back to a stage where I can pitch. Yesterday was the first time I've actually been in a room with a large number of people doing that again. So it's the first time in 10 years I've been able to do it.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah,
You're a storyteller, so that's an amazing story.
Yeah. And in terms of pitching, I actually really enjoy it once you get over the terror. Because it's so immediate and there's so much interaction and you get to see responses from people and you can improvise and, you know, if you're a storyteller, it's another way to tell a story, you know, and you can just play around.
And, you know, we only let people know they were pitching the night before. Did you already sort of have in mind how you would pitch your idea?
Roughly, I knew what to say about it. I didn't actually choose that project, and mine was untitled in the list.
Yes.
I had another couple of projects I might have gone with. But then over the evening, after getting over the initial sort of wave of terror, I started to think about how I'd structure it. And then the next morning, I've got one of these cheap Argos watches that records your steps. And I did 2,500 steps in the apartment in the morning, just pacing up and down. Practicing.
Wow.
And I got it to 3 minutes. And then, of course,
3 minutes is quite tough. Is that tough?
It was really tough. I mean, I was so focused on the 3 minutes, I actually left out a really important piece of information at the start of the pitch, and that was the feedback. Where's this? Where's your comp? Where's your tone? You know, what's this film like? And so I let the 3 minutes get on top of me a little bit, I guess.
Can you even maybe in less than 3 minutes tell us about this film that you're working on, The Sin Eater?
Yeah. So is that me or you?
I don't know.
Might be my watch. Okay. Yep. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good start. So yeah, The Sin Eater is a supernatural gothic horror. In terms of tone, it's somewhere between, I'd say, The Woman in Black and The Nightingale. And basically, it's inspired by a really quite unusual and terrifying thing that people used to do in the UK, particularly in Wales, when the country had a much more black and white relationship with the concept of sin. So when a relative dies, you would pay somebody to come and remove the sin from their body by carrying out this quite strange old ritual. So grandma goes to heaven, the person who takes the sin carries the sin around in their body and basically faces a life of being an outcast and eternal damnation, and blah, blah, blah. So the story is about a woman who gives birth to a little boy. He dies just after childbirth. Original sin was in play then, so she knows her boy might not get into heaven. She pays a sin eater to eat her baby's sins, but he says, I'm not going to do it because I've had enough of this. It's terrifying. I'll show you how to do it. She does it. He tricks her. She ends up taking on a lot more than she bargained for.
It's just fascinating. And you walked on stage and you sort of said, like, I like weird things and I like this Welsh weirdness. I don't think we've ever seen a film like this.
I don't think we have. There have been a lot of really good sort of scary movies, period movies set in Wales recently, but we don't think we've got anything that's as specifically sort of Welsh and hardcore and supernatural and nasty as this one.
And it must be sort of validating to know that the audience loved you, an audience of your peers, of industry folks, and this judging panel really loved your pitch. How did that feel?
Still hasn't quite sunk in, actually. I mean, that's such a cliche, isn't it? But it was amazing. It was so cool. I literally couldn't stop beaming all day. And, you know, obviously the judging process for the audience panel, it's a bit brutal. We had to stand up while everyone clapped for us.
Yeah, and you got a lot of clap.
Yeah, I did. It was really nice. And then, and then when they to get the second one as well, it was just... I'm not used to being complimented. It's not because it's a hard luck story. I'm just British, you know? Yeah. So it was a skill, learning to take compliments, I guess.
I think we're going to hand over in a second, but Matthew, just huge congratulations. And also just a big thanks for you being here and being part of this industry program. And I know yesterday you had brunch with Alice Lowe, and today with Carlo Crestodina, and I think you're making
get me.
the most exactly what we hoped people would at Sundance London.
Oh, thank you. It is fantastic.
Thank you. I was fishing for a compliment and I got it, so thank you.
And you took it well.
Enjoy the Tesco chocolates.
Thank you.
And now we are going to show you a very exclusive interview we did with Celine Song, director of Past Lives, which is premiering here today at the festival, and it's my favorite film of the year, and she's amazing. So let's hear from Celine's song.
So Past Lives is about a woman, Nora, who immigrates as a child, and she had a childhood friend. And it's about the time that a childhood friend from Korea comes and visits her in New York City. And their relationship that sort of endures through time and space, through many decades and many continents.
Past Lives is premiering this evening. How are you feeling?
I'm just so excited to be sharing this movie with this audience, and I'm just so happy to be here.
It's a wonderful thing. What a great journey Past Lives has had from the very beginning. It's been so warmly received, and even trying to get it made, was that quite straightforward for you? Because you're already a very established playwright.
Well, I feel like it was so wonderful because I feel like I talk about my script as like a way in for everybody to sort of like come on board and believe in me, and then really try to support me in making this movie, because I think that was the first audience, people reading the script, and then they were moved by the script, so they could really get behind me making the movie.
And I understand that the film was, that the seed was planted in a very real way, and is actually the opening of the film, isn't it? Yeah. Can you tell me about that moment and how it led on to this extraordinary film?
Yeah, I mean, so I was sitting in this bar in East Village in New York City, sitting between my childhood sweetheart, who is now a friend, who came to visit me in New York all the way from Korea, and my husband that I live with in New York City. And I was sitting there translating between these two guys, trying to communicate. And then I think that in doing that, I felt like I was becoming a bit of a portal or a bridge, or someone who can be sort of part of both of these worlds. And I think something about that was so special, and that's really what inspired me to write the script.
And the rest of it is fictional, and yet it is so specific. And I wonder if it's very specific to the immigrant experience, but also to everyone who has grown up and changed. You know, can you talk to me about that? Yeah.
Because, well, to me, I feel like it is really about moving through time and space. Of course, the story of Nora and also a story of myself is that you moved continents and decades, and it spans continents and decades. But there is also this amazing thing where even if the move that you did is not so big, it could be from one town to another. It could be from a job to another job, and sometimes it can be a relationship to another relationship. And I think each of that, you can really think about the life that you were living before this moment as a bit of a past life. And I think that that's really what the movie is about, and that's how I think that everybody can connect to the movie.
And also just that job of processing these incredible shifts that we go through in our lives. And for Nora as well, and I think for probably everyone in the audience that was sobbing along with me, it is that, oh my God, I didn't process that till right now.
Yeah.
You know, and it's 30 years ago that I left wherever it was behind.
Exactly.
You know, and it's as raw now as it was then. You know, so we're often told, oh, time heals everything.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
Well, sometimes I feel like time just moves forward regardless of what you want and what you're ready for. And sometimes I feel like time pushes so far along, and you know, you go with time, and what you do is you have your goals and your dreams and the things that you're pursuing, the kind of happiness you want, and you're pushing forward to find that. But then, of course, there's going to be moments where there are little things, because they're so little, you forget to grieve those things. And then you sort of move so far beyond, and then you look back, and suddenly that kid that you left behind is going to be standing there. And you're going to remember that, like, wait, I actually needed a moment to grieve that little kid who's no longer here.
Yes. And I thought you did that so well with the way that Nora and
Hansong
say goodbye.
Yeah,
because it's just bye, you know, and it's so quick and so heartbreaking, and you know that somehow they're going to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, it's written on their bodies.
Of course.
Yes.
Well, I think that I talk about the movie as 3 goodbyes. There are 2 bad goodbyes, and there's 1 good one. The first time they say goodbye, they're too young to do a proper goodbye. Second time, they're still too young. But of course, and they also hurt each other a little bit in the second time. And then the final time is the one that really works because, and of course, you know, they've been waiting, the kids have been waiting for 24 years in that corner where they first tried to say goodbye for a goodbye that they were owed. And then, of course, when they get to finally say goodbye, that's how Nora's been able to grieve that little girl that she left behind.
And it is really the magic of cinema. I mean, for me personally, watching the film, I found it so healing and so touching, you know, like just, you know, my story is obviously completely different, but it's just something that Sundance is so good at capturing and presenting in films that are so specific in their detail, and yet they mean universally so much.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, would you agree? Would you be able to
Yes, I
expand
think
on
so
that?
completely, because I feel like even there was a way that, like, you know, ordinary people can be seen through the most extraordinary, because I think that just being alive and just moving through time and space, you can really talk about that as a bit of heroism. And I think that sometimes it is so hard to imagine such extraordinary things when it is something that we all go through. But I don't think that superpowers are the only things that really make somebody extraordinary. Sometimes I think that it is just being able to exist and to allow for other people's existence. Sometimes that can be as extraordinary too. And then also any show of a willingness to understand each other, right? Or any kind of care. I think that those things are also part of it, something extraordinary too.
They are. So I just have one word to say about this film, and it's wow.
That's so wonderful. Yes, exactly.
I love the use of wow. It's just so great. And Celine, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and good luck with the premiere this evening.
Thank you. I can't wait.
Hello and welcome back everybody in Internet Land, and welcome back everybody in the room. I'm sure you enjoyed the images of Celine's song. I'm so sorry about the audio. We will get that sorted out and I will play it for you tomorrow. And as you can see, we do not have Danny and Michael Philippou here at the moment, but they are hot-footing it their way here. And so I have the absolute pleasure of introducing you to our Managing Director, Clare Binns. A huge round of applause, please. Woo! A little bit. You got more than most.
No, I know. I got at least 2 hands.
Yes.
So that's excellent.
Clare, how has the 10th Sundance London been for you so far? We still have lots to come.
We have a lot to come. It's been wonderful. The place is buzzing. Everywhere I go, people are talking to each other. The films have gone down a storm. Our guests have been so up for it. I mean, Greg Aertyck is working his socks off as we speak, going from event to event. And I've just been delighted with the general atmosphere of the whole thing.
It has been magnificent. I couldn't agree more. And what I've just loved is so many people just hungry for it all. You know, you just have to say Sundance, and it's, you know, the curation is second to none, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel every year it's just been building and building and building. And this year it seems to all come together. And, you know, there's Wimbledon, there's a hot sunny day outside, there's cricket, there's all sorts of things. But here, this is about film, and people are packed into this building, loving it.
Live cinema, you can't beat it, can you?
You can't.
And also our industry programme, which our magnificent producer Wendy Mitchell introduced last year, that has just been bitten off with both hands, hasn't it?
Yeah, and again, I think it's this thing that Sundance London provides, which other festivals don't, is just access to everybody. So that if you, I mean, I have seen people that have been the mentors on the panel, standing, talking to those in the industry programme and giving them their time and their expertise. And that's what this is about. It's not about standing there telling people in a very sort of matter-of-fact way. It's more about a conversation. And that's what we've been having.
Yes, and also it's been demystifying the whole process, I think. For a lot of filmmakers, they feel like they have no way to approach these people unless they've got a perfect product and a perfect plan. And, you know, it's just been lovely to see people even hugging, you know.
Yeah, and I think it has been people who are trying to be creative. It's the hardest and loneliest thing in the world. And to be able to share the things that are difficult, that when you're a writer or you're a director and you're uncertain about things, but then having that group hug one way and another is very helpful, and it's not so lonely, and we actually all have to try and help each other along the way, because we all want films to be on screens, we all want stories that we haven't heard, and so we have to help each other.
We do, and I just feel that this year in particular we've been championing some really incredible filmmakers, the sort of thing that just fills my heart with joy. Charlotte Regan with Scrapper. I mean, tell me what your thoughts are about her.
Well, I mean, we saw Scrapper in Sundance at the start of the year, and actually we'd already bought the film. We'd bought the film for Picturehouse Entertainment, so it was the first time for us to see what we'd bought. And I mean, obviously we'd seen her shorts. Paul Ridd, head of acquisitions, had known Charlotte. He sort of has been following her career and what she's been doing. And I just thought, as I'm sure Charlotte has said, this is a story that is not a miserable story about a young girl whose parents her mother has died and she's, you know, got no community and she's living on a council estate. This is about a little girl who is strong and a survivor, and there's humour and there's a real reality about it that I think touched people, and the fact it won the award in the festival was just proof of that. I think it's a film that's going to do so well and opens in the UK on August 25.
August 25. And
August 25.
And I just thought it was so brilliant, just to talk about Scrapper a little bit more, but she sums up our crumbling social welfare, our crumbling education system with a couple of jokes.
Yes, well, I think that's the difference. In other people's hands, it would be a misery fest. But I think Charlotte has talked about, she loved growing up on an estate and had a real sense of community. And this idea that you can't make a film that is happy about, you know, a kid in this situation, or not happy, but it felt very truthful. Yes. It wasn't just all misery. It was a balance about how life is. And as we know, life is about ups and downs, good things, bad things, all mixed up together. And I think Charlotte gets that exactly.
And let's talk about our other Pickens film while we're here, because Fantastic Machine, again, you know, completely different film, completely different documentary. Just had the directors talking about it, but this is what I love about Sundance as well. It forces us to look at ourselves, forces us to look at our choices, but not in any kind of preaching or, you know, hectoring manner. It's just kind of like,
Yes.
Tell me about your reaction to Fantastic Machine.
Well, again, for me, it is a sort of whistle-stop tour of what has happened in 100 years with the way that we use the lens and how we look at things. And it's just hugely entertaining, but it does make you stop and think. And, you know, there's several shots in that film, and I think for me, when I sit on the tube train and I see everybody on their phone and they're not reading books, they're not looking at each other, they're not thinking, but they're looking at their phone. And I just think it is so many things in that film just make you stop and think a little bit. And I think it's going to be really good to show this to school kids, to show it to younger people, because it is so entertaining.
Yes.
In what it's saying about the way we live now.
It really is. And now let's talk a little bit about Danny and Michael Philippou, because again, they are fantastic examples of what is possible through Sundance. Tell me what you know about their story.
Well, I don't know a lot about their story, but you know what I do know is that again, when I saw that film and seeing them on stage last night, and of course the film's showing again today, but seeing them on stage last night was just, they were so engaging and so funny and so prepared to, when they talked about their film, originally that it was going to go down a sort of more studio way, but in fact, they were already being told you can't have an Australian cast, you know, you've got to put some Americans in it, you've got to do this. And they went the independent way, and what they've made is a really original, but a film that's got lots of references to other horror films in it, and it's just a joy, and they are a joy. You know, you can see the enthusiasm when they're talking that is in that film.
Yes, absolutely. I can tell it's been made with such a spirit of fun, love of horror genre.
Yeah.
They know their onions.
Well, they do know their onions,
Yeah.
and again, they referenced when they were talking about the films that had impact on them, and all the films they were talking about, you know, Let the Right One In, etc. I was thinking, these are my favourite films as well. So I think any horror fan will have a ball, and I think there might be a few tickets left for it.
Maybe, and even if there aren't, do go along, because honestly, Talk to Me is just such a fresh take. Like the whole cast is all inverted, it's all upside down, it's all back to front, you know. And I loved Miranda Otto as the mum. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
taking some parenting tips off her. She's amazing.
Oh.
I know, kind of.
Okay. but one thing I will say is, and I mean, obviously I've seen a lot of horror films in my life, many, and I did actually have some jumps
Yes.
myself in
Yes.
this film, and the opening scene I did really give me a big start.
It was, yes. That in and of itself is like, oh, this is how
Yes.
we're going, right? Okay.
Holy shit.
And I must just tell you all, this is just a bit of like, you know, conversation. But last year, the Picturehouse girls all went to the horror film. It was The Watcher, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we had such fun. So we're all doing it again tonight to go to Talk to Me.
I will be there.
And you have to go because Lisa Cardell is the funniest person to watch a horror film with, because she screams before the film's even started. Just at the idea of what...
Yeah, exactly. The thought of what she's going to see.
I was really looking forward to telling Danny and Michael about her. Because,
Well, you never know. They might rush in at the last moment.
Exactly. Oh, Clare Binns, you are such a joy to speak to. Thank you so much for joining me up here at such short notice.
It's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could ask you to stay where you are for a sec.
I will.
And we've got a bit of a treat for you now. Hopefully our audio has been fixed. And so we're going to go to our daily for yesterday. It's a really good fun watch. You might see yourself, so do watch out for all the crowd scenes, and we're going to run with it right now. So
Sundance is a fabulous place to discover the very best.
Whole building is alive with people seeing films, with people having talks, with people meeting each other.
Each person had a great story to tell and how they got into the industry and what they're looking to do.
I also just moved to London, so it's very much about meeting as many people as possible.
Having amazing conversations, and there's so much support. Like I soft pitched an idea of mine and people come up to you and say, that's really interesting, have you thought about this? And we're swapping emails.
What looks like a tawdry gothic horror is actually a superhero origin story.
And each year we get about 11,000 short films.
I mean, this is like an independent filmmakers utopia here. We need a Picturehouse in LA, so any of you Picturehouse people here, if you could please build one there.
You know, you always have to look at the kind of ruling establishment as something to either serve you or for you to find a way to break it down.
It requires a lot of work, a lot of just bringing all sorts of people together, trying to make something together, and I just really love that part of it.
The thing that I learned when it comes to my voice was the visual voice for this part of my life as an artist.
We're really open to working with producers from film, from TV, who have been working in storytelling for such a long time.
You know, we wanted to do something that pulled the audiences into the world and then, like, you know, start with a bang, and we wanted every corner to reveal something new.
With someone like Ira, you feel that you have their entire attention and there's nothing that they miss.
We had a good time in the 70s. You should have been there.
He is a sort of seminal, very, very important American filmmaker of the new queer cinema.
How many people in this audience have never seen the Doom Generation before? Oh my God, really? Enjoy the Doom Generation.
Hello and welcome back. And we're going to have the bit that we would normally have at the end of the show right now with
I can't
Wendy.
get enough.
You can't get off the stage.
Yes.
But very exciting that we do have Danny and Michael Philippou. Yay!
Yes.
To come on afterwards.
Stay for the excitement. Get through the boring
In a
bit
minute.
first.
So
I can't wait to hear what these guys have to say.
I know. I think I
What
just
fun.
went in a minute. Sorry, so that was a bit rough
No.
of me, wasn't it?
So, tomorrow, I just wanted, as usual, to highlight a few films that are screening on Sunday that you can probably get a ticket for if you're in need of tickets, or they're not sold out for sure right now. Don't leave it too long. You never know what's going to sell out overnight. We have a special screening of Rye Lane, one of the films of the year. Such a hit at Sundance. It's sort of a homecoming screening for this film.
If you haven't seen it as well, it is. I didn't know what I needed until I saw what I needed, and Rye Lane is one of those films.
Oh, it's just a delight, and it's really a homecoming for them. And we're going to have like an hour-long talk with the team afterwards. So it's Rain Allen Miller, the director, Yvonne, the producer, Quez, the costume designer, Olan, the DOP, just talking about this magical creative collaboration, which is something we love at Sundance London. Mutt. We were talking earlier.
We were waxing, and I thought, I'm not going to go again. I'm not again, not sorry.
Yeah, just wonderful, and also so wonderful to have Leo Meal here with us. Leo won the Best Performance Prize at Sundance.
Here tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
Here tomorrow for the Q&A. Check that out. Going Varsity and Mariachi is one of the feel-good, inspiring documentaries of the year. The audience just loved it today. They had a great Q&A. Yeah, lots of heavy.
so
I know
pleased.
lots of really important people came to see that screening. Maybe I can even slip in that I know Carl Needham from IMDb was in that screening. Lovely Alejandra and Sam, who you're going to talk to tomorrow, are going to be here for that Q&A. So Mariachi's a great one. Fantastic Machine, life-changing.
Yeah.
Put your phone down and go see Fantastic Machine tomorrow. That's probably enough to mention because we have some other sold-out screenings. And just to also say we're thrilled to be closing the festival with Nicole Holofcener's You Hurt My Feelings. Wonderful story. I just love her films. We're so happy she's here, and it's a perfect closing night film.
It certainly is. Wendy Mitchell, thank you so much. We'll be back in just a sec with Danny and Michael Philippou. Round of applause for Wendy, please. Yay!
Yeah, it was last night. It was such a good vibe, such a good crowd. And the cinema is so incredible and so loud and vibrant. We loved it. Yeah, it was great.
Oh, thank you for saying so. Clare Binns will be delighted. Picturehouse often get a little bit overlooked, so yeah.
Picturehouse, the sound system is the best we've heard in the world. Genuinely, the sound is amazing in those cinemas. It's unreal.
Yeah, Screen One is super special, isn't it? So, were there any unexpected responses to your film?
Yeah, you never know whether or not like some of the Australian humour is going to translate, and it did. So that's always surprising. UK and Australia are more similar than you'd think, you know. Which is we drive on the same side of the road here as well. So yeah, it feels very similar. It feels like home.
It's always nerve-wracking though going into a screening because you don't know. So we just hope people like it. Yeah, I don't know.
And I mean, your film is nearly cult status. Can you tell me a bit about how the idea came to you and what was that thing? How did you decide on the ceramic, the hand?
Oh, the hands. The hands came like in the second draft of the film, and it was a motif all the way through it already. And there was like a car accident that I was in when I was about 16, and I split my face open. They thought I might have fractured my back, and I was in hospital, and I couldn't stop shaking. And I was in hospital. The doctors were coming in. They put the heaters on. They gave me extra blankets, trying to get me warm. And I just couldn't stop shaking. And my sister came and sat next to me, and she held my hand, and the shaking stopped. And like, I wasn't shaking because I was cold. I was shaking because I was in shock. And the touch of someone I love brought me out of it. So hands and human touch and connection has always been a really strong thing to me. And thematically, it was all the way through the film already that like we found that in the second draft, and it just felt right.
And you are just such major horror fans, aren't you? I mean, was it always going to be a horror film that you were going to...
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. We were writing a coming of age before that, but like this just felt right. It felt right.
Yeah, we were writing a few things, but this is one that really like gained momentum the quickest. And it just made sense. I don't know, it felt great. For the first film.
And also, you know, I understand that you might have been offered a way to make it a big mainstream film, but you went, nah, we've got to be in control of this. Is that right?
Yeah. They were just giving us some creative notes that were really worrying us, and they were going to steer it in a more typical direction. And so we just decided to make it independently and take the risk and shoot it in Australia, self-finance of Screen Australia and SAFC.
Yeah, but have creative control. Because, you know, our whole lives has kind of been building up to doing a film. We wanted it to be our film and not... You hear those horror stories from Hollywood of, like, films getting changed and things like that. We care about every single frame and every sound. You know, if someone's going to come in and change that stuff and we're not, like, part of it, I don't know, we just couldn't take that risk.
Absolutely not, because every single sound... I mean, the sound design is phenomenal. I mean, was that the bit that took the longest?
Whoa, yeah. Michael was super, super hands-on with sound effects and music, and like him and our sound designer, Emma, were like, it was relentless. It was non-stop. Yeah,
it was like surrounding yourself with a talented team that can elevate, you know, in a way that's better than you could ever imagine is, you know, crucial. So we had such an amazing team, like with sound and music. It was difficult, you know, because I think we're so specific. But you know, we got there in the end, and it's
Mark would be like, "That's 1 dB too loud," and like the sound design.
It's so specific.
So specific.
When you know when you're mixing and people like manually mix, I can hear when it's like, I'm like, you drop. Can you like, you know, make it auto instead of you manually dropping? Because I hear you dropping it too quick.
Yeah, I dig it, totally. And tell me about your fantastic cast. I'm a huge fan of Miranda Otto. She was perfect as the mum.
Oh my God. Yeah, we were so nervous to direct her. We're like, who are we to direct Miranda Otto? But she was so collaborative, and when we met up with her, she was like a cool auntie. And she was so fun to be on set. And like casting her allowed us to have more freedom with the other unknowns and the younger cast. So having her be the name and the rest of the people be the unknowns, it gave us so much freedom.
And I really felt, I don't know if it's right, but she felt so generous. You know, because you could tell that, you know, well, not could tell, but you know that she's the established actor. You know, and someone like Sophie Wilde was responding so well to her.
Well, you know, it was lucky that they had actually worked together before, so they had a pre-existing relationship. Yeah. But you know, it was the set was chaos, and Miranda really like we're like, oh, what's it gonna be like when Miranda comes in? But she ran it so well. She came at the pace.
That is such... I mean, honestly, everybody, you must go and see Talk to Me. I'm so sorry we are out of time.
That's fine, yeah.
Oh, Oh, I've got 4 minutes. It says 1 minute. It says 1 second on there.
Oh my God, he's trying to get rid of us.
No, I was just responding to the thing. Okay, we've got 4 more minutes. This is great. So let me have a look. Okay, so tell me about the rest of your cast. I mean, tell me about, how you inverted all the expectations of a horror cast.
Yeah, we just tried to have it be grounded in a really realistic world and have the characters feel real and authentic, and then casting people that felt like they were those people already, and then also working with the cast in rehearsals to find natural ways that they say some of the lines and let them have a really big input to their costume even. So it was just about letting them really embody the characters, and it was all just told through the auditions. We knew straight away, no matter what the experience levels, whether or not they were that person. There's Riley in the film. His friend James is based on our neighbor James, who's it's we just cast him because he was literally who I wrote it based on. So yeah, it was just trying to find the most authentic people possible.
Yeah, it definitely felt that you've got some really regular kids rather than expected archetypes, which I really enjoyed, and it made it so unexpected.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, thank you.
And tell me, as brothers, do you have strengths and weaknesses that you play to, and do you always want to impress each other? You are your barometers, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, a little bit of that, and then in post-production, he really is hands-on with sound effects and music. I'm more hands-on with the grade and VFX. We both edit, and we always trash each other's edits, and Michael would I wrote the film with our co-writer Bill Hinsman, and Michael would give notes. I was just gonna say, I feel bad for our editor, because when we went to edit, I already had an edit of the entire film. Danny had an edit of the entire film, and the editor had an edit. So it was going through and what tells the story cohesive, and looking at the different versions and putting together the best overall piece.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, our poor editor. We enjoyed it, but our editor didn't. He's like, this is not how it's usually done. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Jeff. And he's an amazing editor and taught us so much, but he was so collaborative. It was great.
Yeah, and ultimately, you guys have the creative vision that he would definitely want to serve, right? Yeah.
And because we were editing while we were shooting, and there was days where we had to bump out of a location in a couple of days. So we'd shoot all day, go home and edit all night, and then come back to set, and just to make sure we got every single piece that we needed, because the budget was so low, we couldn't return back and get pickups or anything like that. So we had to get what we needed on those days.
And just going back to that cracking opening scene, I mean, that just sets you up for the film. I don't think I drew breath from that moment, to the end of the film when I went, just tell me about creating that, and was that the vision that you had in a way?
Yeah, always wrote it to be one take, and then we had to shoot it. Yeah, it was the last thing that we shot. So it was the first shot of the movie. It was the last thing that we shot, and we didn't get it until 4:30 in the morning, and then the fake party turned into a real one because we finally got it. We had 10 doors to break, and we got it on the 10th take. Thank God. Yeah. It was. It felt so perfect. It all fell into place. It was great.
Oh, do you know what? I don't think I've enjoyed a horror so much in years. Thank you so much, Danny and Michael Philippou. Everybody.
Thank you.
So we'll be back tomorrow. Oh, sorry. Can you stay where you are for a sec? My producer keeps shouting at me, saying, "Stay where you are!" And it's in my ear. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and please join us. We've got Nicole Holofcener, we've got Anthony Bregman. Come back at 4 o'clock. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.